Hello everyone, this is Deepa Parekh. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Learn Anywhere, Anytime. Today we'll start with question number 7 of exercise 2.5, fractions and decimals of chapter 2. So let's go ahead. The question is, Dinesh went from place A to place B, that is here, and from there to place C. So Dinesh went from place A to place B, and from there, that is from place B, he went to place C. A is 7.5 kilometers from B. So the distance here between A and B is 7.5 kilometers. Okay, and from B to C, sorry, this is not B again, this is C, and from B to C it is 12.7 kilometers. Okay, then Ayub went from place A to place D, that is Ayub travelled from place A to place D and from there to place C. So he took this other way, A to D and D to C. D is 9.3 kilometers from A. So what is D here? It is 9.3 kilometers. And C is 11.8 kilometers from D. So what is the distance between D and C? 11.8 kilometers. Who travelled more and by how much? Okay, so this we will easily be able to understand with the diagram, because everything is given, the distance is given, both travelled by Dinesh and Ayub. We just need to find the total distance travelled by them and the who travelled more. So the difference between the total distance. Okay, so I'll just read the question once again to make it very clear. Dinesh went from place A to place B and from there to place C. So there are two people here. First is Dinesh. He travelled from A to B and from there to C. A is 7.5 kilometers from B and C is 12.7 kilometers from C. Ayub went from place A to place D and from there to place C. D is 9.3 kilometers from A and C is 11.8 kilometers from D. Who travelled more and by how much? So here in this question, we have to calculate four things. Sorry, not four things? Yeah, four things. First is the distance, total distance travelled by Dinesh. Second, total distance travelled by Ayub. Third, who travelled more. And fourth, how much. So these are the four questions which we need to find for this question. Okay. Now, since this is the question, we will start with the statement. As for all the word problems, we always write statements. So what would be the first statements? The starting statement here. Dinesh went from place A to place B. So here the statement will start as distance travelled by Dinesh from A to B. Okay. What is the distance travelled? A is 7.5 kilometers from B. So since he travelled from A to B, how much distance he travelled? 7.5 kilometers. Okay. And C is 12.7 kilometers. That was earlier was right one. B is 12.7 kilometers from C. So this distance. So what will be the statement for that? Distance travelled by Dinesh from B to C. Clear? So what is the distance travelled by him from B to C? The distance from B to C is 12.7 kilometers. So he travelled 12.7 kilometers. Clear? So first, as I said, we will have to find the total distance travelled by Dinesh. So therefore, total distance travelled by Dinesh. Okay? What will be the statement? How will we find 7.5 plus 12.7? Okay? So we will calculate here 7.5 plus, since 12 there are two numbers, we'll take this at the top, 12.7. Okay? Now 7 and 5. 7 plus 5 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So here it will be 2, carry 1. We'll bring this point here down. Okay? Now 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. So here it comes 0, carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. That is 20.2. So the total distance travelled by Dinesh is 20.2 kilometers. Okay? In the same way, we will also find the distance travelled by Ayub. So let's see. Ayub went from place A to place D, and from there, so he travelled from A to D, and from there he went to place C. So from D he travelled to place C. Okay? Now D is 9.3 kilometers from A. So what will be the statement for this? Distance travelled by Ayub, where did he travel? He travelled from A to D. So the distance travelled by Ayub from A to D. So what is the distance there? 9.3, because D is 9.3 kilometers from A. So he travelled 9.3 kilometers. Okay, and from D he travelled to C, and what is the distance there? 11.8. So what will be the statement here? It will be distance travelled by Ayub from D to C. Okay, what is the distance travelled? 11.8 kilometers. Okay, therefore total distance travelled by Ayub. Okay, so how will we find the total distance? The same way, 11.8 plus 9.3. We can write it either or, since it is positive, since we need to add, we can write it either or. So what will be the answer? Let's see here. 11.8 plus 9.3. Okay, so 8 plus 3 is 11, carry 1. Now point, the same way it will be brought down here. 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. 1, carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so how much did he travel in total? 21.1 kilometers. Okay, now what is the question asked here? who traveled more and by how much. So how will we find who traveled more? We got the distance traveled by both of them, Dinesh as well as Ayub. Now their question asked us who traveled more and by how much distance did they travel more. So what we will do, we will have to find the difference between the total distance traveled by both. So what will be the statement? Distance traveled more, or you can write distance traveled more, or you can write say difference in the distance traveled, which is equals to what will be, how will it be find? 21.1 minus 20.2. Why? Because we write the bigger number first and then the smaller number when we have to subtract. Now let's subtract here. 21.1 minus 20.2. Okay. Now since 2 is greater than 1, we will have to borrow 1 from here. So since here it's 1 already, it will become 0 and here it will become 11. Now 11 minus 2 is 9. Okay. The point will be brought down similar way. 0 and 0. 0 minus 0 is 0 and 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay. So what is the total difference between the distance traveled? 0.9 kilometers. And who traveled more? It is clearly shown that the distance traveled by Ayub is 21.1, whereas the distance traveled by Dinesh is only 20. So the answer here is Ayub traveled more. And by how much? 0.9 kilometers. More by, you can say, 0.9 kilometers. So this is the answer. I hope it is clearly understood by everyone. If you have yet not subscribed my channel, request you all to please subscribe, like and share. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.